Jesus, you were there faithfully.
Toby Mack and Faithfully on your Christian Family Radio, strengthening your faith, family, and community. We are Derek and Bridget. On the show with us this morning, local authors Keith and Kristen Bridgman.
So excited to hear a little bit about both of your books. So Kristen, let's start with you. Your book is about your mom.
Yes.
And would you bring CFR listeners in to the story of your mom? Let's start with you as a child,
Right.
And just give us a picture of who your mom was and what she was battling.
Okay. When I was very young, my mother had mental illness. Yes. She went to several mental institutions, doctors, hospitals, and nothing was helping. Mm-hmm. And there came a point in her life where all family was gone, friends were gone. She had kind of become an agoraphobic, stuck in her house, was scared to go anywhere. Deep depression. And it was when everybody left out of her life and everything was gone. She went prostrate on her bedroom floor one night and said, Lord, everything is gone. All I have is me. I'm yours. Whatever I've got left in me, it is yours. And that began a slow process of her healing. And slowly, she would get out of the house. Slowly, she started going further and further away. At the church where we had been members, there was an older lady named Dolly, precious woman, who came over to my mother's house and didn't really talk, but she would just sit on the sofa and wrap her arms around my mother. My mother had not spoken or cried in a long, long time, and that brought the tears. Just that loving and putting that arm around her and sharing the love of Christ with my mom was another huge part of her healing. And over a period of time, she got a job and kept that job in an insurance office. She went back to church. She joined Dolly's small group. That small group ended up coming over to her house on a weekly basis, and they would play the piano and sing praise songs and hymns and have Bible studies. And that led to a complete healing. And only from God, only from the Lord.
35 years, right? That built into you a healthy relationship that was restored to you and your mom.
Yes, for the next 35 years, we had a wonderful relationship. She became the best, the most awesome grandmother and great-grandmother to her kids.
Oh, beautiful.
So we are going to talk about your book, that you have a book signing coming up.
Yes.
And then Keith has a book, too. You guys are just this super talented couple. Your book is Walking Mom Home.
Yes.
And you're going to share with us more of her story. But I wanted our listeners to know what you guys had walked through and what the Lord was capable of restoring and reconciling, because that is the power of the God we serve. So more?
Absolutely. And the book signing coming up on Saturday, Barnes & Noble in Bowling Green. You can find out more at ChristianFamilyRadio.com on the events page, but more of the story with Keith and Kristen Bridgman in just about 10 minutes.
CFR appreciates the support of listeners and business mission partners.
Christian Family Radio, good morning. Strengthening faith, family, and community with Running Home, Michael Cochran and Company. We're excited this morning on the show. We always love to have our community come in and tell their story.
Absolutely. Keith and Kristen Bridgman on with this. Local authors, they've both got books coming out. And Kristen, yours is called Walking Mom Home, a special book. Just I love the subtitle, A Daughter's Journal of Caregiving for Her Mom with Dementia. Tell us a little bit about the journey of this book, what readers can expect.
Okay, this is a story of a daughter, me, the 24/7 caregiver for my mom in our home the last 3 years of her life. It's a story of walking down the path of dementia land, totally being clueless in the beginning about dementia. I knew nothing about it. But the Lord walked this journey with us and showing me how to deal with the anger that dementia brings out in my sweet mama, how to handle the 100 questions a day that came day after day, and how to honor my mom through it all. It's a story of learning to see blessings amongst the hard and to find humor and to be able to laugh in those very hard days.
Yeah.
It's a story of learning the deeper lesson of dying to self and honoring my mother no matter what happened or what came at me each day. It's a story of forgiveness and redemption filled with compassion, all anchored in the love of God. And it's a book full of miracles.
Amen.
And the reason I wrote this book is because, one, writing is therapy for me. And about 6 months into this journey, I felt like I needed some therapy. So I began journaling our everyday life, and I shared it on social media, on my Facebook wall, and a very large dementia site for caregivers. And over those 3 years, I literally got thousands of comments from all over the United States and from other countries. And many, many times people would come and say, Kris, you got to make your journal into a book. This would help other caregivers. And so after my mom passed in 2018, it took me a while to recover and to rest. But once I did, I began to work on the book. And it is out now, Walking Mom Home. And my prayer is, there are hundreds of thousands of caregivers out there. And not just caregivers. I think this would help people walk in any hard journey they're walking. And so I'm hoping this book, if they read it, will encourage them and uplift them. God told me so many times how to handle hard situations on a day-to-day basis. Those are the miracles I'm talking about. He literally spoke to my spirit and said, do this, do that. And it would always bring the hard back it'd bring my sweet mama back every time. And so I just want to uplift and encourage people, whether they're caregiving or whatever their hard journey is, that they're not alone. That God is there, and reach out to Him. He will lead you and guide me as He did me those 3 years.
And I love the thing that you're drawing in is we're born and created to be in community.
Yes.
So when we share our story and how God directed us and counseled us and comforted us, that's so powerful.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where my mind was headed, was just knowing that you're not in it by yourself and that there are others that you can lean on is such a huge thing no matter what, you're going through.
The name of the book is Walking Mom Home. Kristen Bridgman is our author, and this Saturday at Barnes & Noble, you guys are going to be signing books because her husband, we got to talk about that too this morning. Her husband's got a book as well.
Yeah, that book signing is 1 to 3 this Saturday. You can find out more about it at the events page at ChristianFamilyRadio.com. But I'm going to find out more from Keith about his book, which is called Running the Edge, in just a couple of songs away, about 7 minutes on your Christian Family Radio. Right now, this is Phil Wickham and the Jesus Way on your Christian Family Radio.
If you curse me, then I will bless you. Keep me in the moment, 'cause I don't want to miss what you have for me.
Jeremy Camp and Keep Me in the Moment on your Christian Family Radio. We are Derek and Bridget. So glad to have you along on this Wednesday morning, visiting with local authors Keith and Kristen Bridgman this morning.
And we've been talking about Kristen's book. Now, it's one thing when God deposits books in one of you as a couple, but you guys got double portion. I mean, that's pretty special, all right?
Is, yeah.
So, Keith, the name of your book is Running the Edge. And why don't you just share with CFR what the book is about?
Sure. Well, it's actually a faith-based action adventure novel. Okay, and
you had me at action adventure. I'm in.
Well, it plays out across a really epic setting, which is on the West Coast, the Oregon coast, which is a very rugged part of the country, and it's some of the most difficult and dangerous waters anywhere in the world, really. And there are things in there, like lighthouses is an important part of it. There's storms and things of this nature that happen all through the story. And it focuses on the operations, it's kind of unusual really, the operations of a Coast Guard, United States Coast Guard lifeboat station. These guys are real elite units. They operate, again, across some of the most dangerous waters in the world, really. And they're really unsung heroes because most people don't know much about what they do. And they really put their lives on the line just almost every day. And the story follows really two main characters. The main character in it is a guy named Matthew Jacobs. And he's not necessarily an atheist, but he's never had much need for, thought he felt like he didn't have any need for any kind of religious thing in his life or anything like that. You know, like a lot of folks.
Self-sufficient.
Yeah.
You know, don't we battle that, all of us, in different ways, right?
Yeah, he's always just relied on his own abilities and capabilities and things of that nature. But he's very skilled at what he does, but he's also kind of flawed in a lot of ways as well. He has some things that goes on in his life that causes a lot of conflict and a lot of difficulties for him. The other main character is a young lady. Her name is Sharon Adair, and she's really kind of the opposite of him. She's very devout. And relies very heavily on her faith to get her through difficult times. And she has faced some really tough situations in her life. And that faith is what is carried all the way through this book in her life and how the two of them interact with each other.
I love how you've done that, because isn't that what happens in life? We have the opposing, and those two actually irritate each other enough to make the good bond together. I mean, that's what you've done. Skilled authors do that, and I think we identify with one or two of the characters, you know, different things. We might not identify with the whole character that's self-sufficient, but as we're reading that, it drops into our heart, and we're like, wait, you know, I do that some. And then I think we aspire to the lady, I think we aspire to wanting to be faithful, but we struggle with that.
Keith, by the time we get to that final page and we put the book down, what are some things that you hope folks would walk away with or be impacted by after reading the book?
Well, it's about redemption, and it's about forgiveness, and not just forgiveness of you with another person, but forgiveness within yourself for mistakes that you've made and things of that nature.
Because isn't that the hardest sometimes, to forgive ourselves?
Yes, absolutely.
Amen, Keith. You're reading my mail.
It's about finding courage in the face of really difficult situations. It's about, like what you alluded to earlier, about leadership.
Yeah.
And there's different styles of leadership, and it's about faith and how faith can carry a person through even the most challenging of circumstances. You know, they could be circumstances that are just virtually impossible to understand and to think that you could even get through it. But without that faith, you might not be able to, but with that, it can carry you through it. So that's, you know, just to kind of sum up the overall theme of the story, is that these two characters run the edge of their emotion. That's where the title "Running the Edge" comes from. They run the edge of their emotions while they run the edge of danger. And the book starts off with a really powerful cliffhanger. There's a lot of activity going on through the center of it, and it ends with an even bigger kabang cliffhanger at the end.
Because that's what a good author does. Keep me in the whole time.
This Saturday, the book signing with Keith and Kristen is happening at Barnes & Noble in Bowling Green on Campbell Lane from 1 to 3. So not only can you get the book, but you can get it autographed, signed by the authors.
Great. And the name of the book is Running the Edge. I immediately, Keith, I need you to know I love anything to do with the ocean. So I was like, I'm in.
Can I throw something in there? Because I'm
Absolutely.
not saying it. He was in the Coast Guard himself. So he knows what he's writing about.
And I absolutely love that you said something. I'm going to reiterate it. They are unsung heroes. Until you have... until you know someone that works, I agree. So I'm so glad that your heart will come out and you'll be able to draw us in to the hero story.
So head on over to the events page, ChristianFamilyRadio.com, to get the info. If you need that again for the book signing, it's this Saturday at Barnes & Noble with Keith and Kristen Bridgman. Running the Edge is Keith's book, and Kristen's book, A Journey of walking with her mom through caring for her and dementia. Two incredible stories, very different but very powerful. Again, the events page at ChristianFamilyRadio.com to find out more.
Around the world on the Christian Family Radio app and at ChristianFamilyRadio.com.